Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we're set for pole day qualifying for tomorrow afternoon's Winston Cup Series third race of the season. We have 26 drivers attempting to qualify for this week's race here at Las Vegas. There's our first driver out onto the track, that being the number 89 of Quentin Moore. We will see him this afternoon in the Busch Series race. Quentin Moore. As we also got a friend joining me in the booth, who, by the way, joined the VC. Quentin Moore, as he's looking to make his. By the way, that's Senor Sean, who just joined me in the VC. And we got a quacking duck. Quentin Moore failed to qualify for the first two Winston Cup races, 32-128 for the driver of the 89. Will you cut that out? I know that's going to get quoted. Right now, some drivers on track. There's Chloe Erickson, lost the points lead after failing to qualify last week at Rockingham, North Carolina. Dropped all the way down to 17th in the points. So she's looking for a bounce back this week. There's Shane Earnhardt trying to make his Winston Cup debut. Brenda Eveling, Michael Brown, two of the Nathan Orman drivers. Eveling has failed to qualify for the first two races. Ashlyn Wright, we'll see her this afternoon in the Busch race later today, trying to go 3 for 3. Mohammed Zain, Azara Mirwais, she's got up. Oh no, Sean touched the cars. As Azara Mirwais is driving the 55 right now. She's got a teammate in the field. There's Matthew Hubert. Kasumi Takashi in the 27. And here's one of our new drivers, one of two new drivers, Bora Park, who will be running in this afternoon's Busch race, trying to attempt to qualify to get into her very first Winston Cup race in the Quaker State Buick in the 26th. First time we have Buick in the Winston Cup series, as there's Dylan Ibrahimian. Alexander Rowe was the fastest in Oregon qualifying last week, but he failed post-qualifying inspection along with Jesse Art. So instead of racing last week, he and Jesse Art both DNQ'd. There's Joe Moore. Luna Farmer is the other driver in the 60, the teammate to the 55 for Year One Motorsports. There's Mia Watson, the 45, in the Georgia Pacific, the light blue Georgia Pacific colors this week. Christian Williams back in the 25. There's Daniel Gitteroth. Carlos Rodriguez running the Tequila Patron colors on his Dodge. Sarah Taylor's yet to make a start this season. Jacob Foster got to make his debut, but like I said, that came after the fact that both the 08 and the 09 failed post-qualifying inspection. Was on his way to a top 10 until a controversy yellow that ended the race that really shook up the running order. Eric Alpha, he just got bumped from the top 7. Michael Anderson. Addison Peterson is another driver who's also trying to make triple duty. Ran the truck race yesterday. Qualified for her first Busch Series race this afternoon. Trying to make her first Winston Cup race. On as far as that's concerned, Sarah Taylor goes to the top of the timesheets. There's the aforementioned Jesse Art. Was going to make the show until they realized they failed post-qualifying inspection. So Jessie did not make the show, unfortunately. So she's 0 for 2. And, of course, we will see Senor Sean, who, by the way, is in the VC with me. We'll see him in round 2 of qualifying. There's Summit Oskin in the Sylvania colors this week on his Richard Childress Chevrolet. Brenda Eveling, 13th quickest at a 31.437, so she needs to get some speed going. Ashlyn Wright, a 31.339, currently somewhat safe. She's tied with the 14, but because neither of them have owner points, they're both into the show as of now.
Quack.
Oh no, Sean is quacking. As there is the fastest, that is Sarah Taylor. So let's talk about the whole controversy that happened last week at Rockingham, North Carolina. It most likely was on that last caution. I mean, everything was fine up to this point. You know, we had a nice 50 lap run to start off that race. Then the cautions came out left and right. And I thought, well, it's going to be a typical Rockingham race. Up until 3 laps of racing to go, when the yellow came out, the race ended under the yellow when Cody Smart, who was off the lead lap at the time, caused an incident with a lead lapper. And unfortunately, instead of only 2 drivers got caught up, we had like 8 to 10 race cars torn up. But that wasn't the controversial part in that whole ordeal. The whole controversial part was a lot of drivers, when the yellow came out, slowed way down. Betty Barrett swooped around the outside while maintaining minimum speed, ended up winning the race in, as I said, one of the most controversial incidents I've ever seen on this game, period. So, yeah, that was a fun drivers' meeting this morning for the Winston Cup drivers. And the officials definitely had some explaining to do on why the hell that happened and how the hell it happened. And hopefully this week we don't have any more controversy here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which I seriously doubt we are going to have controversy. I hope. But all jokes aside, I bet the Winston Cup officials learned their lesson after what happened last week, and hopefully we don't get a repeat of that again this weekend. Down to 2 minutes and 20 seconds right now. That's the top 2 in the standings, Carlos Rodriguez and Sarah Taylor. Carlos is trying to make his second start. He DNQ'd last week at Rockingham, North Carolina. Sarah Taylor has failed to qualify for the first 2 races of the season. Eric Alpha, who's yet to make his first Winston Cup start, 31.406. He's going to need to pick it up. Shade Earnhardt's this is his first attempt of the year. He did not enter the first 2 races. I know Coca-Cola he didn't enter because he signed up late, as far as that was concerned. Quentin Moore, unless he can find some speed in the next minute and a half, I do not think he's going to race tomorrow afternoon. But we will see him this afternoon in the Busch race. Of course, he's competing for the Busch Championship. This lady right here is about to do double duty, Luna Farmer. It's looking like she's going to make her first career Winston Cup start, shockingly, in her first attempt. That's a bit surprising. Addison Peterson doesn't look like she's going to make the show unless she can get one more good lap, which is looking very unlikely. Mia Watts is looking like she's going to make the show. And I believe Mia Watts has failed to... No, she's made every race. She's like 9th in the points, by the way. Christian Williams doesn't look like he's going to make the show unless he can get a good run in the next 30 seconds. Gitteroff, ditto for him. Ibrahimian, ditto. Joe Moore's looking like he's not going to make the show. Bora Park doesn't look like she won't make the show this week for Winston Cup, but we'll see her this afternoon in the Busch Series race. Takashi has not improved, So Takashi's going to go 0 for 3. Max Anderson doesn't look like he's going to make the show. Chloe Erickson's not going to make the show. That is it. Zero's on the clock. Mohammed Zain might have just gotten in by the skin of his teeth, barring anybody improves between now and then. And Ashlyn Wright is 3 for 3. And believe it or not, she's 19. That's crazy, to tell you the truth. Who knows? Maybe she has a chance to run all 3 championships, which that will be perfectly fine because she is a rookie, by the way. Did not improve her time, but Ashlyn Wright is going to be is 3 for 3 in this weekend. And that is it for go or go home qualifying. So Sarah Taylor will make her Winston Cup Series debut. And that's it. It is official. So Sarah Taylor, Carlos Rodriguez, Luna Farmer will make her Winston Cup debut. Summit Oskin will make his second start. Mia Watts trying to stay in the top 10 of the points. Ashlyn Wright and Mohammed Zain, those 7 drivers are going to race tomorrow afternoon. Unfortunately, the drivers who are not going to race tomorrow afternoon, but for some of them, we'll see this afternoon in the Busch race. Michael Brown, by 1/1000th of a second, will not make the show. Dylan Ibrahimian, Jacob Foster, Daniel Gitteroth, Christian Williams, Joe Moore, Matthew Huber, Brenda Eveling, Eric Alpha. We'll see, by the way, Brenda Eveling this afternoon in the Busch race, just an FYI. Bora Park, Alexander Rowe, 0 for 3. Would have been 1 for 2 if he would have passed inspection last week. Kasumi Takashi, Quentin Moore, Max Anderson, Chloe Erickson will continue to free fall through the points. Azara Mirwais, Shade Earnhardt, Addison Peterson, and Sean's sister, Jessie. Those drivers, unfortunately for them, have failed to qualify. Jessie is now 0 for 2 because she did not enter Coca-Cola in race number 1. So those 18 drivers will go home. We'll have to try again next week at the Phoenix International Raceway. But we're going to step aside and get ready for round 2 of qualifying with the 7 drivers that made the show, so don't go anywhere. Pole Day qualifying for the Winston Cup Series. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our Blue Hedgehog station. Welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for Pole Day qualifying for the 3rd race of the Winston Cup Series for the Pennzoil 400 that will be run tomorrow afternoon. Already got some cars coming out on the track as we have begun the 2nd round qualifying. And the first driver coming out on the track is the 4 of Lucy Myers. So she will be the first driver to take time. Lucy dropped 10 spots down to 37th in the points table as Cody Smart has also entered the booth. Lucy Myers will need a bounce back here this weekend. First 2 races have not gone well. Finished 27th at Coca-Cola and then had a disappointing run last week at Rockingham, so she really needs to get it together. Oh, by the way, we're at the halfway point of the Season 1 owner points situation. Oh, by the way, she set a 48.260, but that's because her pit stall was behind the start-finish line, so this will be her first official time lap. And if you're wondering who the points leader is after the first 2 races of the Winston Cup Series, Maddie Crenshaw. Will you cut that out? As a 31.861 for Lucy Myers. Puts her on provisional pole, but it is still early in the session. Jerry Harvick dropped 8 spots to 22nd in the points. I believe he was one of the drivers that was involved in that big wreck that happened under the towards the end of the race last week at the Rock with Cody Smart, which took a number of drivers out of that race and potentially what could have been a good result for a number of drivers. In particular, Luke Knight, who should have won that race. Jessica Miller running some new colors on her Dodge this week. Jessica Miller, 13th in the points, having a good start to the year in that number 9 machine. Vanko Seaman. Let me see where Seaman is in the points table. He dropped 5 spots down to 14th in the points, but still a good start for Vanko Seaman. Monica Towns gained 15 spots to 19th in the points, so a good start to the season. Much better result for her. Michael Anderson currently 10th in the points. Tatum Wright is 2nd in the points table after the first 2 races. If you would have told me both the Wright sisters are right now, Ashlyn Wright would like a bounce back, because right now, if we were to lock the top 35 in, Ashlyn Wright would make the show along with Tatum. Wouldn't that be something? Ashlyn Wright is still in the top 35. There's Luke Knight, the heartbreaker last week at Rockingham, North Carolina. He could have won that race if it wasn't for that wreck that caused the final caution of the race. Kevin Joseph running the chartered colors on his Ford. He is 34th in the points table. There's Samanowski making a second start. Ben Tennyson 36 in the points, dropped 12 spots after Rockingham last week. Samantha Granger running the SKF colors on her Richard Childress Chevrolet. 30th in the points table coming into this race. Hasn't been a good start. I don't know why she has an R next to her name. I will fix that before tomorrow, so I apologize about that. That was a typo error, but I will fix it before the race. Annie Thomas, 40th in the points, running the home 1-2-3 colors on her Dodge. Liliana Beta in the combo colors. Beta gained 11 spots to 27th in the points table. Riley Anderson is 7th in points, gained 9 spots after last week's race. There's Ashley Horton running the checkers colors this week on her Chevrolet. Hannah Blue Jay is 4th in the points table. Jay Green, don't know why I still have him on this scheme. He was supposed to run a new paint scheme. He'll actually do that tomorrow afternoon, so I forgot to change his paint scheme. Betty Johnson, I changed her paint scheme. Dropped 13 spots to 20th in the points. Brad Lewis in Trek colors. Second race, he'll run that scheme. He'll run some more new schemes later in the season. Brad Lewis, 29th in points, dropped 18 spots last week after a disappointing result. Annie Crenshaw running the Mobile One colors. This is the 5,000 mileage Mobile One Clean 5,000. Cody Smart's got the 15,000, and the 75,000 is Todd Montgomery. So all three will have these same looking cars, except just look for the different colors on them. Now, let's explain about this driver, because I do not know if anybody is aware of this. This is Lauren Grubius in the 41. She's going to make her Winston Cup Series debut. She is actually replacing the suspended Ben Erickson. Now, I know some people are going to be like, wait a minute, what do you mean replacing the suspended Ben Erickson? Ben Erickson was suspended because after the race at Rockingham, North Carolina, which he caused an incident under the yellow flag that took Ashlyn Wright out of the race along with Nathan Orman. Actually, Orman went on to get a top 5 in a controversial fashion, but that's besides the point. Which Ormy wasn't too happy with Ben Erickson. The Luke Knight and the officials weren't either, so they slapped Ben Erickson with a 1-race suspension, and Lauren Grubius, who we will see in the Busch Series race later today, is going to be in that 41 for this race and this race only in the Fujifilm colors on that Dodge. It's going to hurt Ben Erickson in the points table as far as that is concerned. And the 41 is 23rd in the points, so I bet you that 41 will be out of the top 35 for Ben Erickson when he gets back in the car, which is going to be, I want to say, race number 6. So it's a 3-race suspension that Ben Erickson was given after what happened at Rockingham. So that will put Ben Erickson definitely into Go-Home qualifying, as long as with Lauren Grubias, who will be scheduled in that car for the next 3 races, starting this weekend here at Las Vegas, as we're looking at Margaret Jacobs just past the halfway point in this qualifying session. 13 spots gained to 18th in the points for Margaret Jacobs. There's Todd Montgomery. I was just talking about the Mobile One colors. 26 in the points, 16 spots gained for Todd. Timmy Turner is 3rd in the points. You just saw last week's winner, Betty Barrett. Will you cut that out? Betty Barrett jumped all the way up to 11th in the points. I know she did not want to win that race that way, in Barrett's defense, but it is what it is, so there's nothing you can do about it. Currently 33rd quickest, hasn't even found any speed in that car. So Lauren Grubias will be in that car for, as I forgot to change Cody Smart's paint scheme, which is fine. I'll do it in between sessions or do it before tomorrow's race. Cody Smart, 33rd in the points. If we were to lock the top 35 in now, he would be really close to that 35th in the standings cut line. Nathan Orman is 6th in points, 16 spots gained after last week's race. Air Senor Sean dropped 8 spots down to 12th in the points table in the Fruit of the Loom colors. And there's our points leader, Maddie Crenshaw. Had a good result, took the points lead last week after Chloe Erickson's DNQ. She's running the Rena Center colors on her Wood Brothers machine. I was trying to figure out what the sponsor was. That's your fastest lady right there, Monica Towns. It's right now in Everham front row with her and Jessica Miller. For Barrett, it is her 3rd career win in the Winston Cup Series and her first on this season. Because remember, she was a 2-time winner last season. You talk about a driver who really has been struggling in the points. Ponzo Albanese fits that bill. Why? He's 46th in the points. He is dead last of the drivers that have run every race this season. Will you cut that out? Running the FedEx ground colors this week on his Joe Gibbs Racing Chevrolet. So the good news for Ponzo, he does have the champion's provisional. If he's outside the top 35, he can use it so that way he doesn't have to go into go or go home qualifying. That's something very valuable he better be grateful of. Luna Farmer right now 22nd quickest, so kind of mid-pack. But for her to get this car in the show on her first try, that's pretty impressive. I know she doesn't have the speed to show for it, but hey, it's going to be a long race tomorrow. There's Sarah Taylor in the 36. Currently 5th quickest, going to be making her Winston Cup debut tomorrow afternoon, even though she goes by Skylar Taylor. We know that in the real NR community. Drake Robertson in the number 43 machine. Luke Knight, by the way, is 41st in points. Drake Robertson, 42nd. Look at these big teams that are down here at the bottom of the points table. Ben Tennyson, who made the playoffs, 36th in points. Drake Robertson, 42nd in points. Luke Knight, 41st. Andy Thomas, 40th. Ashley Horton, 44th in the points. Ponzo Albanese, 46th in points. Dead last of the drivers who've run every race this season. That's big names that are down here. Let me throw some more big names. Cody Smart, I mentioned, 33rd in points. Kevin Joseph, 34th. Josephine Bouvier in that critical 35th in the standings. 2 races in. Who would have predicted that before the beginning of the season? Of course, Courtney Lynn is 28th in the points, but it's not going to make a difference because she'll fall out of the top 35 because she's not running the full schedule this week. There's Jacob Tutu. New colors on his, that's the snap-on colors on his GM Goodrun Chevrolet for RCR. Jacob Tutu is 15th in the points. Ashley Reynolds, 8th in the points, gained 9 spots after last week's race at the Rock, as we're now under 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. There's Mohammed Zain. Yanni Thomas not having a good qualifying session, but it's qualifying. There's Josephine Bouvier, we just mentioned, running the Pennzoil colors on her Ford. As I said, 35th in the points. A lot of drivers need to get some good results right about now. Carlos Rodriguez is 38th in the points. He is a total of 4 points below the 35th in the standings cut line, despite missing a race. Of course, he ran the truck race on Friday, made the show this week, so whatever he learned from the truck race on Friday, he's trying to apply it here this weekend in the Winston Cup Series. As Ashley Horton's heading back out on the track, under a minute to go in the session. For Lauren Grubias, who's been put in the position that she's been put in, and it's not her fault. Of course, she's going to run the Busch race. And of course, her Busch crew chief is right next watching, and she's trying to give feedback in the Winston Cup car. Remember, this is the first time she's in this Winston Cup car, and she doesn't know what to expect. And of course, qualifying 40th, well, it's not surprising for Lauren Grubias being put in this position, but then again, she's never run a Winston Cup race, so, I'll just give her the benefit of the doubt. It sucks that she's gotten thrown into the position of having to run a Winston Cup race, replacing Ben Erickson. Erickson will be back for race number 6, so he'll have to more than likely qualify on time. As Senor Sean is back here in the booth. Apparently he had to take care of something. And for Luna Farmer, who will also be in the Busch race this afternoon, 23rd quickest, will you cut that out? And that looks like qualifying's done. So Monica Towns has qualified on the pole for tomorrow afternoon's race. Good job to her. It'll be an Everham front row with Jessica Miller alongside of her. Brad Lewis, Vanko Seaman, row number 2. Sarah Taylor, Elena Aurora, row 3. Tatum Wright, second in points. Annie Crenshaw makes up row 4. Liliana Beta, Betty Johnson will complete the top 10. See where the rest of our drivers will start. Senor Cody will start 16th on Sunday, tomorrow. So, and I see that lap time. It's a 31.2 and that number at the end, which I know what's about to happen 5 seconds from now. Senor Sean, 20th. Good qualifying for Sean, even though, yes, he has already beaten Jesse 3-0, even though Jesse has yet to make a Winston Cup race, just saying. Looking through the rest of the qualifying results, I knew somebody was going to get a frying pan. Betty Barrett, 1 week removed. Will you cut that out? No! Betty Barrett, 1 week removed from her first win of the year in quote-unquote controversial fashion, 29th. Carlos Rodriguez in 33rd. Looking through the rest of the lineup. And down at the bottom, poor Nathan Orman, shotgun on the board. But It has happened. We've seen drivers who really haven't qualified well really do well in the race. Lauren Gruby is going to start 40th. Well, that's kind of expected of her because she's not run a lot of time in that 41. So we'll just give her the benefit of the doubt. But she and Luna Farmer, we'll see them this afternoon in the Busch race, as well as a few other drivers we'll see in the Busch race this afternoon, including Liliana Beta, who was also going to be in the Busch race this afternoon. So a couple of drivers will definitely get some notes from the Busch race that can help them in tomorrow afternoon's race. Same with Ashley Wright, who starts 28. She's top 10 starter in the Busch race. Hope you guys enjoyed this qualifying session. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the World Racing Association crew today. We've shown you your starting lineup for tomorrow afternoon's Pennzoil 400. That will be at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. Coming up later this afternoon / this evening on the East Coast, we have our Busch Series race to run here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. For our studio engineer, Caleb Hobbs, Cody Smart, and Sean Art, I'm Dean DeVos. Thank you for joining me and saying for now, so long from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We want to congratulate Monica Towns on her first pole of the season. Coming up next, we'll rejoin the Infinity Network Sports Studios programming already in progress. We'll talk to you later this afternoon, my friends. You've been watching the World Racing Association, the greatest racing since 2013.